Hello and welcome to Astro Mingle, the spiritual podcast that mingles with the talented lightworkers and the innovative influencers of our time. Tonight's guest is Stephanie Foley, a creative alchemist who blends science, spirit, and a touch of shamanic quantum quirkiness to help people find their aha moments. Through her magical world of Moonfeather Hollow and something she calls Cosmic Cartography, Stephanie helps people step into their fullest, most creative selves. And with her brand of whimsical witchery, Stephanie invites us to see life as a spell of transformation, which makes her the perfect guest for this Halloween. So please help me in joining to welcome her, Step 14 Libra, Stephanie Foley. Hi.
Welcome on this happy Halloween.
It is happy and colorful.
To get us kicked off in the right spirit,
What's that? Say again?
a witch laugh to get in the right
Oh,
spirit.
sure. Go ahead. Yeah, go for it.
Really good witchy laugh.
That is
My
good.
dearies.
That's right. I like Tom and Jerry when we were kids. You know, like I know. I mock all my sound effects kind of like after that cartoon period that we were, watching brainwashed with every Saturday morning, right? Growing up, it's crazy. But that was kind of it, yeah. Witchery, this is fun. You're fun and poetic too, I have to say. Used to volunteer for Soul Garden a long time ago. My first rendition on the web. So thank you for being a guest. It's crazy how things turn around, right? It's like how things just
Oh,
end
it's
up
so
in life. I know.
it's so fun to think about what the years have brought into both of our lives. Obviously, I've been a little bit more aware of yours, watching you and following you online and being part of your amazing service.
Thank you.
Through your app and stuff,
Thank you.
and the step astrology and all of that. And you're less likely to know much about what I've had going on the last 15, 20 years. But I think that makes me the perfect example of you have no idea, Chris, how many lives you've touched. Like, just
Oh,
stop and take that in for a minute. Like,
mm,
I'm just one of who
mm,
knows how many. Isn't that a fun?
mm.
Just
That
let
is
that fill
fun.
your heart for a second.
Certainly helps me actually in times of stress. You know what I mean? So thank you very much. It always does a shot, not surprise me, but just I don't know, takes my breath away a little
You
bit.
don't see it. You don't get to see
Right.
it.
Totally,
Yeah.
that's true. Actually, that is true. I don't get to watch and observe it. But thank you, and I'm honored. If I had anything to do with this career of yours, then I'm really honored. Because my heart does want to like make it normal for people to like be themselves. Like that was my mission, growing up in such a weird household. So thank you, and thank you for doing whatever you're doing. Like I'm going to learn about tonight. It looks really interesting and cool. I think this world is burgeoning. I guess the first question would be, you call yourself a creative alchemist and dreamweaver, which sounds cool. I mean, who doesn't love that song in the 70s? Just like brings you right up. What do you do in those roles? Like, what exactly are those roles?
Well, the whole concept of alchemy is that really you want to find the gold in that steaming pile of gold,
Mhm.
right? Like, instead of a
Mm,
steaming pile of poo, if we can
mm,
convince ourselves to open our minds just the littlest bit to say, what if it's a steaming pile of gold?
mm,
What if somewhere in there's a thread, a tiny thread that can actually bring me a gift that I wouldn't have recognized otherwise because it just looked like a
mm.
steaming pile. But I'm learning to recognize that it's got gifts for me, and that takes a certain amount of creativity, imagination, willingness to
Mm,
suspend disbelief
mhm.
beyond what appearances are. And so
Yeah.
to me, that's like the core essence of creative alchemy.
Huh. So you're blending creativity with like obviously alchemy, transforming it into something else, and which is completely doable. I mean, in our life and our consciousness. I mean, that's it. But isn't also too true that isn't there? I mean, I've been shoveling gold for years,
That's right.
and and so I always find there's always a little piece of shit in that gold. So the point is like like what? So but isn't it weird that spirit does usually have? I mean, legitimately, it seems like there really is some silver lining. Seriously, is there
There
not? I
really
mean,
can be. I mean,
yeah.
even in the very worst of circumstances, and I've been accused of being a Pollyanna, or spiritual bypassing, or any of the things you might want to say. But from my heart of hearts, I can tell you that I I walk my talk. Like in 2005, my sister died in a snowmobile accident,
Mm,
completely unexpected, and I can tell you, never in a million years would I wish her to be gone. But the life that I live now 20 years later is absolutely different. And there's absolutely fine, fine bits and threads of gold that just wouldn't have been there had
mm.
that not come to pass. And so while
Yeah.
we don't wish for these things to happen,
Yeah.
when they do, we can find a path forward. And so I want to shine that light of hope in the world.
Well, that's beautiful because I think, humans don't have coping skills. We don't have
No.
coping skills. We have none. That's what I realized. It's like we're babies. We really are. We don't have, and it's not taught anywhere. It's not taught in kindergarten. I mean, they tell you skills. They're being tough on you in kindergarten. Put your nose in the corner, do this, sit with your, cross legs, Indian style. Um, so it's great work. I admire it. So what is Moonfeather Hollow then? What inspired you to create
Well,
that?
that started out as actually a virtual retreat space in 2019.
Mm.
I was collaborating with an artist in New York, and she hosted these cool upcycled vinyl record paint nights on her property.
That's cool.
I note, keep track of this. It's her property's called Moon Hollow.
Okay,
Um,
great
her
name.
work is just really on creativity, expressing ourselves, the confidence to pull out the paintbrush and do the artwork that you think you can't do. But she was also very much into transformation, healing,
Mm.
all the things. And that was more the focus of my work, but I had a great passion for creativity. So together, we just lit each other up and we wanted to do this retreat. Um, and I'm over here in Seattle, near the Snoqualmie Valley River, and Snoqualmie is Salish for moon. So I'm quite literally in the valley of the moon. So together we created an online retreat space because back in 2019, that just wasn't in the stars for us to be doing in-person retreats, especially once 2020 came around.
Yeah.
So this virtual space, this retreat center, came together, and our collaboration just really grew into this whole ecosystem,
Hmm.
um, where we've got courses and creativity quests, and we just published our 4th annual guided lunar journal.
Oh,
We're
that was
just
pretty. Yeah.
we're having a lot of fun. And
Yeah.
we're just trying to expand the mission of, we call it Moonlit Alchemy,
Mm.
or Creative Alchemy, and it's exactly what I was just telling you about. And the moon kind of has become our anchor of what brings our work together, with hers
Mm.
being more creatively focused and mine being more transformation focused. And now we're doing this great creative transformation. It's so exciting. You can
Oh,
tell
that's
I'm passionate.
no, I love it. I think it's terrific. And I'm just curious. So, what kind of person is coming to this? And is it moms who need a break? Is it all the walks of life? I'm just curious who's in that space.
It really is a lot of walks of life. So in the beginning, when it was still more the online retreat, and before we kind of evolved as much, it really was more Gen X and boomer women who wanted to craft and create
Yep.
in a space that expanded their belief system about their own creative expression and what they were capable of.
Mm-hmm.
And then because of the pandemic, it was very much a community building thing. And
Mm.
so we initiated this thing we called Moon Mail. And every month we would encourage the audience, the clientele, the community members, to put their new moon intention into a piece of artwork,
Mm.
hidden, so that it wasn't like you're
Mm.
just sharing this all out in
Yeah,
the world.
symbol or
But and
something.
then
Yeah.
we
Mm.
we set them up and paired them up in like pen pals and mailed it to the next person, and then they're infusing their good vibes into your new moon intention, and then
Okay.
that way we're all spreading our own artistic expression and expanding on the energy we're putting into each other's new moon intentions. And we did that for about 3 years, um, because during the pandemic people needed that kind of a thing for a few years. And then after that, people got out in the world and pretty soon started dropping off. But we're like, what can we do with this? So that's when we went back through and decided that there were certain themes that were chosen over and over, because we would let the community choose what's the art theme. So like, for example, a moon in spring might become the cherry blossom moon, because we were naming
Mm.
them ourselves rather than leaning into
Mm.
heritage that isn't necessarily ours. We wanted to create something of our own. And after doing that for about 3 years, we'd all these great moon names, but no more people doing moon mail. We thought, what are we going to do? And then that's when we started this journal as well. And now we have these whimsically named moons to help people get into that playful vibe so that
Mm-hmm.
they can be creative. So it's
Mm-hmm.
it's playfulness is, I know you know this, you've been talking this for years.
Mm-hmm.
Playfulness is a doorway, a portal to creativity.
Oh yeah, and play is actually. I mean, I think we're in a game right now. I don't know if reality really is a real. So I agree with you. I think everything's built with fun and play. I think the angels are too. If you actually, people don't know that, but the angels are very playful and very funny, and always cracking jokes. Like it's interesting how it's really built in our existence, right? And not used. So if it sounds like, it sounds like something. It sounds like the perfect like junior high kind of like experience, in the sense of bringing that teenager in you. I mean that with all due respect, around Halloween, it just seems like a perfect kind of exercise. It's really important. How does your background in transpersonal psychology, math, and physics all come together? How's that work?
So this is fun. This is where things got really juicy and interesting, because up until about 2018 or so,
Mm-hmm.
I was just entirely too serious. I've always had a real playful, silly streak.
Mm-hmm.
I love cartoons. Garfield's my hero. I grew up on Snoopy and Scooby-Doo, but that felt like a different part of my life. And then I was this very academic person. I, majored in math, and I studied all the science, and blah, blah, blah. I've got all that air, as you know, from my chart.
Right.
So that's what comes naturally to me, is the intellectual bit of it.
Yeah.
But it wasn't very rewarding.
Yeah.
And as I grew and lightened up and leaned more into my own creativity, I realized that all my words are just barriers. All my thinking is like a like fuzz that needs to get cleared out so that I
Mm-hmm.
can receive instead of think. Because
Yeah.
I think my mind turns into this mouse chasing the cheese kind
Mm-hmm.
of thing, in
Yeah.
this
All of ours.
puzzle.
Yeah.
But as soon as I stop and feel, instead, I lift up and I can look down at the maze and I can see everything that's going on. And then
Yeah.
it's just like clarity comes. And so part of that has come from all the study of transpersonal psych and learning about subpersonalities, and then astrology, which you've been one of my key teachers of astrology, and especially the step astrology. It just, yes. And
Yeah.
gene keys, I've studied gene keys and human design. And I've gone deep into all these different mystery schools. And what human design says my niche thing is the wisdom well. And so my role is to collect and synthesize all these different mystery schools, but then try to
Mm-hmm.
bring it together and put it in language that is for everyone, or that can be like transferred from one school of
Mm-hmm.
thought to another. So I can speak to someone from this school of yoga and chakras and whatever, but I can also speak to this person over here with gene keys and human design, and then become sort of like the mystery school whisperer. I don't know what to call it, but what I've discovered is that in writing, I too fall into the trap of words, and the words suddenly become really heavy because I'm trying so hard to convey something in my heart, and I'm thinking about what's the right word instead of conveying a feeling. And so I've
Right.
finally come to realize that my natural way to do that has to be probably more verbal and audio generated and spontaneous, because um I lose something gets lost in the writing. And anyway, there's a thread where this matters. I think this might be the same kind of thing we're going to run into with AI. It can put all the words together perfectly, but it can't always convey the heart
No.
feeling, right? So
Well, it's the energy. The energy. I
the
think it's the
energy.
energy. I think you're talking energy. Yeah. Go ahead.
That's it. And thank you. Yes. That's the much more simpler way to put it, which you're
Well,
so good
and
at. That's what
I'm with you. I've say the step system has taught me that too. Is that first of all, the mind is the dumbest part of us. To bring it down to just one little is actually very very stupid, and because we're fluid. First of all, we're not one word that ends. The vibration of the sound is actually, I think, the reason why we have words. It's not because of the written word. I think is actually where it probably goes the worst. It's the sound of the words. It's the sound, because there's a sound wave. That's where the fluidity is. But then we put it into print and we slow it down even further. I think that's the issue. But it's fascinating because when you say get above, that's what I learned with the step system. It's like, above in your case would be, step 2, 3, 4. It's really below 5, but above 5, really, in the sense of its power. That when we
yes.
come into reality, we start broad and we just keep getting narrow, more and more narrow. So
Yes,
you're right.
the 4, 5, 6, the they're all air. Boom, boom, boom. And I can get stuck at 4, 5, 6, 4,
Oh
5,
yeah,
6, 4.
yeah. I think
And
yeah,
I totally get I'm in a place where I can receive, but you're absolutely right. For me, going higher really is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. And so that has been my big lessons. My big
Yeah, I
life
get to the
lessons
heart
are
of it.
0, 1, 2, 3, and 4.
I think it's humanity's lesson. I think it's where we lost
Okay.
ourselves. I mean, I really do. In fairness, and yeah, 4, 5, 6 is what you do when you're hungry in front of the fridge. 4, 5, 6, 4, 5, 6, 4, 5, 6. You're sitting there wondering, what should I eat? That's 4, 5, 6, 4, 5, 6. It's kind of funny that way. So I love this phrase, the dance of the Dreamweavers, on your website. What does it mean to you? I mean, we've heard it in many forms in the 70s, being Gen Xers.
Well, when you think about the fact that we're on a ball of rock that's
Mm,
cycling around the sun, that we're all orbiting, and that the whole thing is spiraling forward, I like to think about this cosmic dance, right? And
mm,
from an astrological perspective, you were just talking about everything's vibration and frequency. So each of these planets and each of these cosmic bodies has a vibration and a frequency,
yeah.
and it's s- sort of spinning and weaving. When you watch Discovery of Witches, that TV show, and the witch is like this, she's got these like iridescent threads that she's sort of tying and weaving. We are doing that every day in our lives with frequency and vibration, and we can look at like the astrology to give us some clues about that. We can look at our human design, which gives us clues about that, because that again is based on the planets and where they were when we were born and a little bit before we were born. But also the other mystery schools, things like tarot and chakras and I Ching, all of these different schools of thought, different mystery schools, at their essence can be brought to those same sort of frequencies, these
Oh, yeah.
repeating patterns.
Primary, yeah.
And
12
when we
states.
learn to recognize them, that
Yep.
is us. That is the dance of the Dreamweavers. That's
Oh,
us
okay.
weaving
Hmm.
those frequencies into our daily lives.
Hmm. Well, I mean, I don't know the Bible very well, but I kind of feel like the Tower of Babel and how it fell was the breaking apart of all these mystery schools into separate, languages, kind of thing. That we did have it as oneness, and it was torn apart deliberately to keep us from understanding how they all go together. What the power of them together means. There's so many movies that was like, you gotta find the crystal, find the piece, find the, putting together back these pieces, right? So, and this is what you're doing. You're actually putting the pieces back together, as am I, to some degree. How do the Can you share? Let's go this way. Can you share how a few of these practices or modalities that you use help people to get into the deeper awareness of creativity? From artwork to who I am.
Sure, absolutely. Let's think of an example. So, like just even the simple act of pendulum checking,
Mm,
um, what what creative project you're working on, especially like if you feel a creative block or something. First, it gets you out of your head and into a
mhm.
modality, a physical modality, a practice, something that makes you feel like you're observing. I mean, really, it's still when you're using that pendulum, but it's not your conscious mind. It's no longer your conscious mind, so you can be in an observation mode, and that pulls you out of your stuck place to where you can get some actual feedback from yourself, from your higher self. So that's like one small example. um
Mm,
there are lots of examples. It depends on the person and the situation and what they're going through. A lot of the You had asked me before, where does the transpersonal psychology come in? And I was trying to express how I was just too serious. And then I had mentioned that my sister died. Believe me, I'm putting this all together. At some point, I realized I'm still here for a purpose. I have something really important to do. And I
mhm,
enrolled in a shamanic practitioner training, and I went
mm,
through a whole medicine wheel and a couple of years of really deep learning. And what that taught me was that some of these practices that we can do that are rituals, more ritualized or more hands-on, like working with a pendulum, or in the shamanic practices, working with stones or working with crystals, um, doing illumination techniques, certain breathing, soul
mhm,
retrieval, all these various practices, they're all tools that help us open a portal of possibility.
mhm.
So
Yeah.
to simplify all these words I'm throwing around, my my wish is to open a portal of possibility. I tune into my heart with presence, and I listen to, like in a one-on-one session, I
Mm,
listen to what what the person is saying. And my superpower is tracking where people kind of get stuck. I can hear it in
Mm,
their body language, in their I can
yeah.
sense it's energy. You just said it a little while ago. It's energy, and I can sense it, and I can
Mhm.
feel a stuck place, and then I can hopefully gently interject. Sometimes I get so excited. I'm like, oh, I got to interrupt you right here, because I have to ask you in this moment, what is this little tiny bit about? Because I can find this little. You always say hiccup in the giddy up. Um, I can find that one spot, and that opens a portal of possibility.
Gotcha. Yeah, because you just broke the denial, really.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. See,
Yeah.
I need
And
someone like you to be the Stephanie whisperer to take all the.
yeah, no problem. I'd be happy to. We'll have our people talk to your people. Yeah, I mean, I think it's well, I see it too. I mean, I sense the same. I feel, to be specific, that's usually a step 8. It's usually some decision they've made that's put them into a loop, an infinity loop.
Yeah, they made like an agreement or a soul contract or something that they can not recognize because they did it without conscious awareness, or they did it
Yeah.
before they came in, or they did in a past life, or la, la, la. Just that part's not as important. The important part is to identify it and then renegotiate it.
It's your undo it. I mean, I say it nowadays. I say undecide. Because there's no such word, and then therefore I can own it. But it's undecided. You undecide it because when we decide, that's the only time we twist things, into what they're not, and that's our creative force. But yeah, people make decisions very quietly. I mean, as a child, you very quietly decide you're worth nothing. You never say it out loud. Like you never say I'm worth nothing. But the child concludes at some point, and that becomes one of those little thingies that you find. So it's interesting.
Absolutely. At some point as a child, I decided not to trust, to protect myself, to make myself small, be protected, whatever. But
Mhm.
in doing that, I'm not sharing my gifts with the world because I'm not having the confidence. And as you've mentioned, Libras have gone through like a whole, and I have. And I'm to the point now where it's not about me proving myself anymore, which I think it used to be, because I used to feel like I had to prove myself only because I doubted myself.
Mm.
But that core seed of doubt, the gold in that steaming pile of gold of doubt, is that through the exploration of it, I can now stand here in a very sort of non-egoic way and just say, I've got some gifts to share with the world. If they're open to it, I'm here to help.
Mm. I'd say what you just explained was Gen X, really. Not to harboring on us, but it is. It's Chiron and Aries. I mean, we're not. It's that we made a mistake in the past life. That's what it is. We screwed up royally, and so we're afraid of screwing up again. Frankly, and it's an
Yeah.
ego wound. So our ego is afraid of doing it, and our ego is involved, and our ego is in the way. It's crazy. It's interesting. How do you do the blend of ancient wisdom and modern teachings? Because that's always a bit of a trick, I'd say.
Oh, it really is. Thank you for that question. It's not an easy one to answer, and I'm not going to pretend I have it all figured out.
Mm.
Um, because what I have found is that once I start down a path of explaining something, I lose people. I'm a good
Uh-huh.
teacher, but I get stuck in all this language that
Mm.
isn't relevant. And then after I go blah 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 for a while, then I notice it and I catch it and I stop and I go, okay, what is the core essence here? And then I apply my actual gift and I go, okay, you know what? If you really want to understand the basis of this I Ching system, here's some resources if that's curious. But the essence of what is applying to what your situation is going on right now, without all the details, is
Hmm.
this. And then I just do this straight talk kind of thing. But because I can back it up with something that is grounded in a little more heritage or ancestry or wisdom school or background, I think that conveys a little more maybe confidence. I think it's part of my human design too that I have, or my gene keys, that I have this sense of inadequacy. I have a shadow of inadequacy. And I've had that my whole life through. And so I came in with it. But what the gift in it, the steaming pile of gold in it, is that because I have this sort of nagging inadequacy, I do all my research and I know my stuff and I know what I'm talking about. I can't always convey it on the spot, but I do a lot of follow-ups, where I'll say, and this is what I was talking about, and here's the research, and here's that sort of thing. But I find most people aren't as interested anymore in the ancient systems and understanding the basis of it, or Like they're curious about it, but when push comes to shove in the moment, they just want to know, how do I make my life better? How do I feel better? I don't like the way I feel right now. I just want it to be better.
Yep. It's true. People don't want the backstory.
They don't.
They don't want the backstory. And
I
what's
used to
surprising,
think they did.
well, we do. I think we're projecting ourselves onto them. Like I think each generation, each
Oh,
Pluto generation, with all due respect, I mean, I do, I think each Pluto generation,
you're
which
right.
is what you and I are, we're Pluto in Aries. I mean, we're Pluto in Libra, right? So,
Yes.
we're concerned. We have issues with boundaries with people and where we draw the line and what's fair and what's not fair. The next generation, Pluto Scorpions, that's Scorpio. It's black, white, period. Like there's no gray. It's black and white. They're trying to they're trying to separate black and white. Like that's where they're having a hard time. Well, I mean, it's very extreme. So they kind of want to get to the black and white of it. They don't necessarily want to know the grays. And you and I are all gray. Pluto and Libra is all
We
gray.
really are.
Gray
And we find it fascinating.
And this is the point where the millennials like, boom, just turn us off. But you talk about nature and imagination as portals. What do they actually look like in a session? I mean, what does an imagination portal look like if I'm watching your class or your session?
Okay, great question. So nature actually is the easiest thing to talk about because it's so visual. You can see it. So if I'm trying to explain a process like the creative process, for example, I use nature as the example because the life cycle of a plant is also those eight phases. You can summarize it into 8 phases, from seed to sprout to blossom, to fruit to decomposition. That life cycle of a plant is also the same life cycle as a creative process. It also happens to be the same cycle as the 8 phases of the moon. It also matches the 8 key sun celebration days across the year. When you look at the solstices, equinoxes, and then the 4 cross quarter days, those also mirror that same pattern. And so as soon as you start to use nature as the don't want to use that language. As soon as you start to lean into natural patterns and help people to open their eyes to how nature already conveys all the wisdom we ever need to know, then bringing it real to them just becomes that much faster and easier. I don't know. Did I?
Yeah. No, that's good. Oh, did we lose her there? I guess her energy just froze. I think. Well, I'll just go on this while she's frozen in time, space. That nature ultimately, I think, it's been the go-to for all masters. I mean, nature is the example of God at work and how it cycles. So I think it makes it very real and it's very relatable. I guess I just lost her there, I suppose. So that's a bummer. But yeah, agreed. I don't know if I'm just going to go on here. I'll just talk about it for a second. I mean, what's interesting is that I think that I finally figured out when I was coming into my mastery why Buddha always uses something as simple as a toad or a flower petal or whatever. Because I was annoyed when I first started reading literature about Buddhism and stuff. That would be so simple. I'd be like, you're driving me crazy with how boring you are. And then as I became a person who tried to explain these complex systems to people, I realized, nature is the embodiment of all these amazing, complicated things in very simple form, which is what the brilliance of life is, frankly, is this, combination of these complex things in very simple form. So I think we should use that. Did you catch that? Is that nature, I think that Master Buddha, like the masters of the past, they would always use nature as like a symbol, like the lotus flower, this, that. And at first I was annoyed by it, when I was a young student. But then I realized, oh no, as I began to try to teach it, you realize that God is brilliant at making complex things very simple, and that nature is an example of complexity and simplicity together. And that's the paradox of life too, is that, and the brilliance of, her work. So yeah, I get it. We lost you there for a second.
But you actually probably said it better than I could have. So thank you for being the Stephanie Whisperer once again.
You're welcome.
I can't tell you how many Chrisisms they're in my vocabulary. Years of Chrisisms are in my vocabulary. Witeckiisms.
Oh, really? Okay, thank you. The dictionary is coming out soon, so we'll have it.
Very good.
For extraordinary, yeah.
Witecki lexicon.
I love it. I have Saturn in Gemini, so I feel like I have the right to create words.
My Saturn's in Gemini too.
Do you feel like you have the right? I do. I'm like,
in fact, I do have a whole lexicon for my, I make words.
What sort of spell?
One of my favorite words that I made is mundamancy. And it's the study of the world's soul as messenger. So synchronicities, signs, symbols, if we tune into mundamancy.
That's a good book title. Yeah, there you go. So how does intuition play in your work? Like, Do you help people strengthen theirs? That's something I'm always working with in my clients, is helping them see their intuition. Do you also play same games like
I've
that?
begun to. I'm in the beginning phases of that. So in the last maybe 5 years, I've done more group oracle readings where we'll
Mm-hmm.
get together and do reading cards for each other as a way
Mm-hmm.
to practice. Because what people find in those instances is it boosts their confidence. They start to feel like what they're getting from, because not just reading the directions from the book or the information from the book, it's looking at the images and going with the feelings that you're having as you're seeing these images. And when they convey that to another person and then the person mirrors back, oh my gosh, that was such a meaningful message for me, that boosts everybody's confidence. And what I've discovered is when three or more of us are gathered together, it
Right.
just does take on a whole nother magical level of accuracy and brilliance. But I myself, my own intuitive belief and confidence and recognition of it has been relatively recent, kind of in the last probably 10 years, more
Hmm.
in the last 5, because it's that mental thing. I couldn't always tell what was coming from me mentally and what was coming through me. And I'm very imaginative, and I can jump into a shamanic journey like you wouldn't believe. Like I'll just certainly be there. And then hypnosis, all those practices that are visually imaginative or even sensational evocations. Like I can close my eyes and I can eat an orange and it'll make me salivate because it's that real. Like I have that, but I don't know how much of that is what everybody else had. And I had it all twisted up with my 456, 456, 456, because I've had a hard time discerning what is thought and what is channeled. And
Mm-hmm.
I've just recently come into a place where I can feel it in my body
It's a feeling.
and really feel confident about the difference of where something's coming from. And I can catch myself. I start to do that spinning out into a big thinking thing. And then I'll breathe, ground, breathe, center. And then, oh, oh, oh. And then it comes. Then it's
Mm.
intuitive. So I'm just starting to learn to help other people do that as well.
Mm-hmm.
But in my private work, one to one, not private, one to one, but it's it's a combination of technique, intuitive check, technique, intuitive check. And I didn't always realize that when I was doing the intuitive check that that's what it was. Does that make sense? Like
Oh, yeah, yeah. I
that
went
part
through
is
this.
still coming because it can only be there with great presence. And I think like what you've been saying for Libras all along is we haven't been um, in that place of confidence or presence because we're too busy mirroring or assessing how is the other person receiving us, or what is happening, or what do they need, or the focus has been so external
Yeah, yeah. I
that
mean,
that
you are Aries is, twin flame, and you are just as external as Aries is. Just because you're nice and fair doesn't make you not Aries, which is
right.
external. Yeah, totally, and the external for sure. And that is exactly it. No, I for some reason I had the ability to look within, but I saw from the very beginning. I think because I'm so sensitive emotionally that I could feel right away. Like I could feel as a kid it come in the door. I felt it come in the door. I felt it come in. And I always felt it come in. So there's a part of me that was always paying attention to something inside of me for some reason. And I think that yes, if you're raised to be all external and only pay attention to things outside of you, it's amazing how powerful your attention is. Like it will tune out everything but what you put your attention on, and that's where you put all your energy into your manifestation too, is in that attention intention. But basically, what happened was I recognized a feeling that I fell into, and to me, it's not a technique into taking intuition. It's intuition. That's it. And the technique is speaking whatever it's telling me. Like that's the technique, just letting it flow. And I would get into these flows where I just rant, on certain things, and I realized that flow, that's the intuition. It's a feeling. It's a feeling of a flow that's there. And it's always in the same spot inside of you. And I think we all imagine it in a certain spot inside of us. And once you find that spot, and that's the spot, then you're spot on. That's when you're spot on, because you ultimately know where to go for the answer, and what the answer is, whether you're brave enough to say it or not. That's a whole nother part of it. Sometimes
Good point.
comes there is like sometimes, I mean, to learn that, I had to have some really big tests, Spirit brought me with some really weird examples that I would say to the client, and they were like, oh my God, so I think it's important. I can't believe, really now that I'm coming full circle, I guess in my work, I'll be 20 years next year. It's like, I feel, wow, this is silly that humans even got off this course. This is way silly. This is who we are. We're very magical. We have a lot of supernatural powers, really, and the idea that we allow ourselves to be sort of taken completely off to who we are not is just kind of sad, really, honestly. So do you use oracles or divination for your work? Like, if not, how do those fit into your creative guidance?
I use oracles every day for myself to guide my work. I ask myself 3 questions. What's the sort of energy of the day? What do I personally need to know or focus on? And what does my business need to know or focus on? And then anytime I have a personal session with someone, I pull a card before we begin. And then oftentimes I might feel called to share that card with them, and it's always very meaningful. And then in our courses, we definitely lean into intuitive practices. We have a whole course on moondamancy. We have a time travel with the tarot course, which is a lot of fun. And then we have this Epiphany Oracle Quest, which is available through the mail. And any of you who were at Unite the Light who got a cute little envelope, I've got one around here somewhere, but inside there would have been like 5 or 6 little items, like an oracle card and a little piece of artwork and some ephemera, that kind of thing, that were and a little piece of paper that would describe some form of moondamancy for you, like animals, or like looking inside of a book and grabbing it had like a little instruction, like, try this as an experiment. And so just to kind of get people playing games with their own intuition, to look for signs, symbols, and synchronicities with this little kit that they get in the mail, and then they open these little envelopes. It's just a lot of fun. But anyway, we gave them away, and Jenny said they were a big hit at Unite the Light. So
they're a huge hit, actually. I didn't know they came from you, so I'm learning more as we go. We're going to take a little break now. When we come back, we're going to talk about creativity, which is something I'm really curious about too, what your theories are on that. So we'll be right back.
I help people to kind of get in touch with their gut, which some people believe is your first brain now, right?
Right.
And what the coolest part about what I do is that it's not like I sell anybody on anything. Like, people come to me because they know that they need to get to me, either for higher self work, colon hydrotherapy work, how to have like living food in your world, how to create your purpose, how to tap your intuition, how to align chakras, systemic like energy moving through the body. I take care of people to help them to realign their integrity within themselves for their mind, body, and spirit. And the integrity is really the right relationship. It's not like a moral judgment or anything. It's just right relationship. And I feel like a lot of people in this world know that they're not in right relationship and aren't always sure how to get back into it.
Are you looking for inspiration to grow your conscious business? Sears Joy's Board of Light is a sacred alliance of lightworkers, visionaries, and spiritual leaders dedicated to awakening conscious leadership.
Our next lineup of guests is ready to take you on that journey of spiritual enlightenment. Next quarter guests include Sofia Del Gigante, branding specialist, founder of Rising Creative Studio, beginning in November. Then in December, join us for Jillian McKenzie, spiritual strategist and soul project manager. In January, start your new year off right with Nelly Garcia, creative relaunch BFF.
Don't miss this profound lineup of wisdom. Join now for only $250 per year and be a part of the enlightened professional re-evolution. What are you waiting for?
You started your business for freedom, but somewhere along the way, it turned into chaos. You're trying to fit your unique vision into someone else's blueprint, and it's leaving you feeling overwhelmed and second-guessing your every move. That's exactly why we created From Chaos to Clarity, your 12-week live business intensive. We give you the courage to claim your voice, the clarity to build your unique framework, and the conviction to lead your business your way. You'll get live power hours to hone your strategy and weekly accountability sprints to make sure the work actually gets done. Stop following, start building. You don't need to do it all alone. Clarity is closer than you think.
Oh, it's great. It's great seeing our community all advertising and doing things. We've grown so much, haven't we, over since the years? We're doing great. I'm curious about how we describe creativity as, you describe it as language of the cosmos, as a language. How can someone start speaking that language in their own life, especially with AI?
Right. Well,
Yeah.
AI is a great tool. And I always say,
Mhm.
don't mistake the tools for the progress. Tools are just meant to use to bolster or make a project or a job easier, but never to replace the creative expression, full creative expression of a human, right?
Right.
So the language of the cosmos being this frequency that you and I have been talking about, the whether it's the planets and their associated, 12 states of consciousness, or whether you look at it from a point of view of where the gene keys are in your chart and what your creativity, because there's a whole sphere just about creativity that I look into for people, and what that
Mm.
means, what is the shadow and the gift, and what's called the city, or the epitome of how can you get to your highest level of that.
Mhm.
Along with, like I had talked about, the creative process being much like a plant life cycle and the moon cycle and that sort of thing, that
Mhm.
once we start to learn the language of nature and the seasons and or the states of consciousness, we can put context around the frequency we're feeling in our own creative process, where we might be stuck or where we might be ready to have an expansion or a growth or a blossom. But there is a language that we have to learn to be able to identify and find that place if we just don't have any clue about it within ourselves. Does that make sense?
Yes. So yeah, you're saying really you're describing that these are energies that we're trying to give words to, really,
Yes.
and so you're saying, and because there's no words for it, we have to have a language for it, like a whole other subset of language. Is what you're saying, right? Yeah. Yeah.
Or at least just get better at interchangeably using language people recognize. So what I'll do is I'll
Yeah.
ask a lot of questions to get a sense of where is somebody's worldview context, where are they
Mm-hmm.
coming from. And if it's not like a session where I can get that because it's a course and there's a lot of people from different places, I will create that context in an imaginal realm. So like, for example, we have Midnight Moon Dragon's Navigational Magic course. And so we've created a imaginal realm. It's a island. And then in the journey or in the course, people sort of move. Wow, this is menopausal brain happening right here. Travel. They travel around the island, and at various stops on the island, they're engaging in different creative processes. So we're creating a construct and a language that helps them to convey and talk about what they're experiencing if it's a group of people.
Got you. So you use an imaginary place in time. Yeah, no, it's great. I think when people are visualizing together, I think they're co-creating. I think they're seeing the same thing. They don't know it yet. I mean, I don't think we realize it, but we're seeing the same thing a lot of times. I think we don't realize it, but we're seeing the same thing that the person who's speaking to us is seeing. So I think images are telepathic. So, when you're imagining that island, I got a picture of that island from you, and I just owned it. And that's what, and a lot of my psychic ability came from me just describing those images, and they were like, oh my God. But, because they're called universal. I think it's great what you're doing. So how does imagination and energy work together in the magic you teach? Like, where does imagination come in?
Well, I think I have to remember that my imaginative process is unique to me. And I think I forget that. I think you're reminding me of that right on the spot in the moment. So I'm having that sort of like aha moment of my own right here, thinking, oh, I think I'm taking for granted some of my own and projecting my imagination onto what others might experience. So could you please re-ask the question?
Sure. I mean, the idea is that, imagination and energy work, right? So energy work is like, think of it like Reiki, right? So Reiki is allegedly, energy flowing from my hand into you, right? But where's imagination play into that? I mean, I have my own theories too, but
And I would about to jump in with this big spiel about how it works for me, and I'm suddenly realizing for others it might not. So I'm going to go back to maybe a definition of imagination rather than how it works. And that is, are you willing to suspend disbelief? Let's break it down to
Mm,
simple first
mm.
of,
The
are you
precursors
willing
of
to
it.
suspend disbelief? Because if you can suspend whatever disbelief you have about that Reiki energy coming toward you, you might just be open to receiving it. And then depending on where your imaginational skills, almost like love languages, it's not a skill thing. It's like, is it sensory? Can you imagine a smell more than you're likely to imagine an image? Or do you, it's kind of like the audiences, the clair audiences, or the sentient, whatever
Well,
the 8 clairs are. The imagination probably comes in these different flavors as well that are
it's imagation. It's
sensory-based.
imagation. It's the idea is that you're making images, like it's imagation. It's the word image is in it. So it's like, I think, from what I understand in my studies, like it's a tool God gave us. We have the ability to create images in our creativity, and we make them as images. And we, from understanding in heaven, we trade images. We're always
Oh,
there's more languages trading images. I mean, most of it's trading of images. They're trading
that'd be
images
so
of
much
like what we
easier.
look like, what we look like in this life, and what we look like in that life. It's like we show each other. I mean, it's going to be the same freaking life as we are down here. Instead of showing pictures of selfies, now we're showing images from our brains, from our memories, from the lifetimes. Is what it is.
That
But
would
the
be so
idea
much
is,
easier.
there's something in the matrix where when you image it, when you make it an image, it sort of begins the process of creation. Like it's kind of like it's a blueprint to God. Like, okay, the universe kind of knows kind of what to do, and there's a universal understanding of, I think, universal understanding. Now, my personal thought has always been that what gets tricky is when spirit sends me a message, my imagination is what draws it. It uses my imaging. So it uses my imaging, and it uses my symbolism. It uses my context. So people get confused. They go, "That's your imagination." Well, yes, of course, your imagination. It's just like I use my mouth to talk. Use my imagination to put the picture together in my head. It's my imagination building building the message into a frame. That's my imagination. It's always used my symbolism. It's always used my crayons. It's used my pencils, right? And so, but the difference is I didn't request it. So when it's spiritual, it was an intuitive thing. You didn't request it. There was a moment earlier where like, hey, can I have if you don't request, then it's not you. Right?
Well, and the
You
other
have to
thing
ask.
that I've found when people say, "Oh, it's just your imagination," I follow that up with, "Okay, let's play with that for a second, and I want you to imagine a door, and then now I'm going to imagine a door, and then in a minute we're going to describe the doors that we imagined, and then once you tell me about your door, I'm going to ask you, well, why do you think you chose that door and not a different door? Like, why is that the door that came to you? If it's just your imagination."
Well, that's your history.
It kind of implies like you're in control of it. If something happens and it wants to be written off as it's just your imagination, that sort of implies that we're manipulating or controlling something. And my point in that exercise, in that line of questioning, is, are you? Are you intentionally manipulating and controlling the image that's coming into your mind? Like, are you actually doing that, or where
Oh,
is it
goodness.
coming from? So what if it's just your imagination? It's still coming from somewhere. And I feel like that is part of, either could be worldview stuff, memory and recollection, or it could be like what you're saying, from an intuitive hit.
I think imagination can be used for many things. Sitting down and imagining the life you want to live in, that's all you. But I do feel like if you each imagine a door, I feel like that door is based on your memory of doors. So, but when I get an image in a vision, like a psychic vision, I don't always recognize it. So it's something I've never seen. It's something I've never seen before. And so I'm sitting there going, what the fuck is that? Like what I have to, my mind doesn't have any reference to it. So in that case, my mind did not pull something out of memory. Like there was something, there's like a distinct, image that was not in my head before, now is, but I still think my brain drew it, So, it still animates according to your own personality, I find.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I find, but I find with my clients too. But here we're going down deep rabbit holes of what we're here to do, I guess. This is what we do, light workers. I think we're decoding the past and our
It's
magic.
part
And
of the fun too, honestly.
Always, oh, so well, I love it. I mean, honestly, life is getting boring. Now we have something cool to fun to talk about, right? So, you mentioned too that one of your gifts is helping people find their aha moments. So first of all, what is an aha moment to you, right? Like, what is that aha? I'm curious. Now we're philosophical. And what's your secret?
Okay. All right. Well, the aha moment is when suddenly a perspective shifts.
Mm,
Something either comes into focus or a light shines onto something that was previously not seen or observed.
mm,
Um, there's a revelation of sorts.
yeah.
There's a felt sense of expansion.
There is. Yeah, I agree.
And
So
what
yeah,
was the second part?
and the eyes. I mean, I think I'm addicted to that. Seeing that in people. I mean, I'm addicted. I love it. There's something about it. It's like, especially a child of yours.
It's
Like
super satisfying.
when their eyes go big, and like their eyes will go big. Like they'll be like, whoa! Suddenly, their eyes are too big for their sockets, and you feel the shift. Like you feel like something just all rearrange itself in front of you. Yeah, yeah. That's
Yeah, yeah.
a wonderful feeling.
It's sort of like the when the wave collapses into a particle and there's just sort of like this there's a focal point suddenly for all this energy. Vroom.
I wasn't there, but yes, I believe it sounds like it. That's good. So, what's your secret then to the aha moment? Because I'm as a fellow person who seeks those in people, what do you do set for that? I'm curious.
Deep listening, which I know is hard to believe
Mm,
when I'm being interviewed on a podcast and I'm going blah 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 blah. But
okay.
in talking with someone, and then I have this really direct line of questioning too, where when people are talking, including myself, when we're spewing all this language out of our mouth and we're trying to convey this emotion, I kind of tune out of the language and I tune into the energy that's coming from the person. And I can feel, sense, identify, notice when there's just the slightest, well, as you say, hiccup on the giddy up. I love that phrase, where
Mm,
something's just not quite right. And
mhm,
it's like a ball of yarn that's been tangled, and you start to kind of pull on this, but then it gets stuck, and then you pull over here and it gets stuck again. I have a knack for being able to find the piece that goes all the way through, and I
mm,
can tug on this one string
mm,
with someone, even though they think they're going on and on about this relationship or this thing that happened. I can be
mhm,
like, but here, right? No, right here. Let's go back, right? Nope, here, here,
yeah.
here, here. And then they'll be like, oh, and it's through like presence and feeling and listening, and then a line of questioning that helps them to kind of retrack and refocus.
Hmm. Yeah. I know exactly what you're talking about. There's something I don't know what it is, and there's no name for it, but there's a hunch, I guess is a word. It's a good word for it, but it's like you do get something inside of me goes off and feels something, and I don't even know what it is. I feel something, and I tune into that something, and it becomes more defined. And that's the thing they didn't catch in themselves, right? Whatever that not is, or
Mhm.
whatnot. Yeah. Is this what a session's like? I mean, walk us through what a session is like with you. What would the experience be like with you, working with you?
Well, I would get you talking about okay, so if you came in with a specific thing, like I'm having this issue that I want to resolve or work through, then we'll spend time talking about that issue. And it's
Mhm.
very direct, and it's exactly like I said, I'll listen for where's the hiccup. And depending on how deep or intense it is, we might utilize some shamanic journey work or
Mm,
soul retrieval or, different healing modalities. But um, if it is more uh uh straightforward. Like if a person is working on growth motives versus deficiency motives, meaning they're already pretty well healed in most of their instances, but they're trying to move their life forward into a bigger way. It
mm,
honestly sometimes can be as easy as just pointing out the obvious to them. And that's always fun because they're like, oh my God, we did that in 20 minutes. How did we do that? And all I did was listen and then hold a mirror up and say, here's what's going on with you. But obviously, if it's going to go deeper, um, then we'll utilize some other healing modalities. I don't know how to convey an example unless I think of something simple or put you on the spot, which I don't want to do.
yeah, let's move on. You also work with the rhythm of the seasons. You said like calling on winter dreams and autumn wonder. How do those nature cycles guide how do those cycles really guide what you do? So how do you tie into them?
We are so out of tune with nature as human beings, having the
Mhm.
exact same schedule on a January 15th as we do on a July 15th. Like, that's just wild that we would think that we're supposed to operate at the same tempo, pace, accomplishment, content, that all of it is supposed to be just identical day after day after day after day, year round, because that is just not so. We just naturally are going to have more energy for productive output during those full daylight hours of July. And in winter, we're just naturally going to be more successful in slowing down, having reflection, doing dreaming and visioning. So that applies to all of the seasons. In autumn, we are meant to, right now, it's Samhain today or tomorrow, and we are meant to be in this deep, dark Scorpio place where we are feeling the feels, and we are listening to messages from our ancestors, and we are being a little bit more cautious and protective with our time and our energy, and we're embodying mystery and unknown, and being in a space of being okay with things being a little mysterious and unknown, because we're winding down from a busy season of summer and a big, bright, beautiful early autumn into this late autumn of darkening and going to bed early and snuggling up. Like, those things are natural, normal things that we could accommodate in our lifestyles with some intentional focus and decision making around that I'm convinced would make us all so much more healthy and effective, because everything we do is energy, and when you bring exhausted energy to what you're doing, it's not as effective as if you bring well-rested energy to what you're doing. And if the energy of what you're doing doesn't match the energy of, well, even the planets from an astrological perspective, there's like a push-pull going on if you're not in sync with that energy. The same is true of the seasons. Now, it is also seasons within seasons within seasons, because we can have our own personal seasons going on regardless of the external seasons. So like, if we suffer a loss in our lives, we are in winter, we are wintering, right? Or if we have a brand new job or a brand new project that we're doing, we're in spring, even though it might only be November, you know? So
Yeah, totally.
to just tune into, we contain multitudes, and we're capable of multitudes. So to be able to honor the fact that we can contain new spring-like energy during an off season, during an autumn, dark, deep season, just means that we're bringing our multidimensional awareness so that we can operate with full capacity, full creative expression, instead of trying to define ourselves in these very specific, this is what I do every day, in a rigid, to be less
Right.
rigid.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, no, I agree. It is less rigid, but I live in the desert, so it's always the same temperature, you know? So no, we do have summer here. It's actually cool, but yeah, I hear you. And I think it's interesting. I mean, we've had fallen out of touch with Mother Nature, and that's one of the problems we're having. I mean, that the man has just assumed that it will be, you know, drill over, you know, bulldoze over what nature is what we're standing on. You know, so it's just crazy. Well, and we're coming to the close here of our time, so we want to do some just quick, like, rapid fire questions for you. This is something we're just now adding to our show. So you're our first and perfect guinea pig for this. You know, to be. So it's just quick questions. If you've got to brew a portion for one thing, would it be joy, wisdom, or creativity? Which one would you brew a potion for? Joy, wisdom, or creativity?
Joy.
I would too. Man, we'd be sitting there laughing all night. What one magical nightly ritual or practice do you absolutely love?
Oh gosh. When I lay in bed at night and everything is quiet, and I often have my cats at my side, and I just take a few deep breaths, and I think, where do I want to go in my dreams tonight? And what messages do I want to receive?
Wow. I'm asleep before I even hit the bed. It's so funny. So funny. And it's time for a Halloween spell. If you could cast one spell for all of our listeners tonight, what would you want that spell to bring in their lives?
Oh my gosh.
Besides candy.
Courage and resiliency in the face of steaming piles of gold. But that's so funny that you would ask me that question, because I wanted to bring a spell. So I actually wrote a little Halloween spell because it just felt so very Halloween-y. And can I just read it? It's kind
Go
of
ahead.
fun.
Yeah. I mean,
Doubts dissolve in moonlit rays. Logic breaks and wonder plays. The universe winks. Starlight weaves, unlocking all that longs to be. And so it is.
and so it is. Yay, Stephanie. Well, it's so nice to have you on here. How can we work with you?
Look at the sprinkles. The sparkles.
Yeah.
How
There we go.
fun. You can
really,
check out my
I thought that was
website at
meditation.
moonfeatherhollow.com, and there's some specials listed in your description for your people. There's some 50% off codes and a freebie for a Cosmic Compass archetype quiz to see what season you're in.
That's cool. Yeah, that's awesome. Thanks for coming. You have to come back. We'll do like a project or something together.
I would love that.
That'd be fun. Yeah, that'd be totally fun. Thank you for coming. It's so nice to see you again. It's amazing. We're doing great work, and we're just getting started as Gen Xers, because no one in the world's interested in this but us. So it's our job to teach it, right? So thank you so much for sharing your gifts. It's been very magical.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Good, fun stuff. Wow. And I felt like I was just I don't know. I think I was in school, like when we were kids. She was talking about imagination and how the Gen Xers and the boomers, like to do the craft stuff. That's because we're the last ones that had art in schools. That's why we like to do craft stuff. We had actually art. Well, friends, it's always a pleasure to be here. I hope you have a happy Halloween and enjoy this is New Year's Eve for the pagans. This is the death of the old year. Thank God it's over, right? And we can live in that cycle because Scorpio's going to draw that line. It's going to be it forever. We'll be back next week, however, with a brand new version of us and who we are. Until then, I love you. Live, love, be.
Coming up next week on Serious Joy TV. This week on Leading Out Loud, Sensei Christopher Witecki and psychic medium Scott Cruz are setting the example for how to build better boundaries. Join the conversation this Wednesday night at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. Then join us for Astro Mingle on Friday night, featuring special guest Karen A. Anderson, a pet loss specialist, #1 best-selling author, and coach. The best in enlightened entertainment, only on Serious Joy TV.